Welcome back to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Scott Reeve, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Johnny Juan, a personal mortgage coach with over 25 years of experience in sales, real estate, and leadership. Not only is he an expert in helping people achieve home ownership, but he's a Ziglar Legacy Certified trainer and coach like me and a great man of God. He's passionate about helping people unlock their potential and find their why in both life and business. Johnny, thanks for coming on the show.
God, man, I'm excited to be on here with you. When the idea came up, I was like, me, come on here, let's do it, man. I was excited. So thank you for the invite.
Yeah, man, I needed some extra energy today, so I got to get you on the show.
Yeah, yeah. I don't do any coffee. I don't do any energy drinks. I call it living water.
I think if you were on energy drinks and coffee, we couldn't keep you on the ground. So,
Oh
uh,
man, I've heard that. Yeah, I get that a bit. They're like, hey, what kind of coffee you drink? I'm like, What kind of energy drink? I'm like, You know,
no,
this gets me pumped up. This gets me excited. So.
yeah, we I met you at one of Billy Cox's movement conferences, and just like I said, I just love your energy, love everything that you do. Obviously, we have our Ziegler heritage in common, and then you're down in the Tyler, Texas area, which I love. I got married in Tyler in 1991, and would love to have ended up there. Just did not have a job offer, so it wasn't wasn't really an option when I got out of law. So we didn't get to stay in Sherman or in Tyler, but love it. I love that part of Texas, and it's good people, and it's good to have you on the show. Now, you do a lot of stuff, right? So it's really hard to do an introduction for you. I'm kind of the same way. So tell the people that are listening and watching us kind of what you do, how you spend your time.
So I call what I do during the day my Clark Kent job, right? That's the daily reporter, right? So I do mortgage loans, residential lending, real estate lending for first-time home buyers, for VAs, for out country. We do construction loans, all that stuff. My Superman job, the one that I really get a kick out of, really came to fruition in 2020 when I came across Ziglar. I actually had come across Ziglar in 1998 when I went to go hear legendary speaker, trainer, motivator, Mr. Zig Ziglar speak for the first time. And Scott, I was hooked. I was like, wow, that dude can command the room. I mean, he had everybody laughing, he had everybody quiet, he had everybody paying attention. And ever since then, I bought the tapes, I bought the books, listened to the tapes. They didn't have CDs back then. And we just started growing through life. And then in 2020, it came full circle when I was able to get accepted into the class 26 of the Ziglar Legacy Certified coaches. And it was actually the very first pandemic class that was able to go through. And it was actually the best class that's ever come through virtually. So it's been through ever since. And then because of how COVID was happening, I basically took everything that Tom taught us and applied it to my mortgage business, and my mortgage business just exploded. It was that relationship selling, relationship building, building the best you, choosing to win. A lot of those, leadership, top performance leadership. There were so many things that we learned during that course that, when implemented into my daily job, my career, man, it just took it to the next level. You mentioned Billy Cox, man. If I can have half the energy that dude has, uh, I'm gonna be okay. But it's amazing what happens when you take this time tested, tried and true, applicable real world wisdom and implement it in our everyday lives, regardless of whether it's real estate lending, real estate. I do real estate coaching now because of what I did with my real estate lending. I also do public speaking. I do a lot of volunteer work here in the community. It's the give back that really kind of you give back to those that you can't really take anything from, or accept anything from, but just donating of your time and your talent, your treasure, your resources to, as Mr. Ziegler said, to help them be more, do more, and have more. And when you start to put all of that together, yeah, it's pretty interesting and pretty fun, which is the name of my curriculum, or my program that I put together, and I call it the Fun Life Community. It's all powered by Zig Ziglar. His philosophy, all of his courses, we've kind of gone in there and we've taught those to I call them the cool kids, the inner circle, the cool kids. And we just really help them to activate, or for some of the older kids to reactivate their childlike faith to be able to live out their childhood dreams in this playground that we call life. And so, what I really say when I go out to tell them is that I'm going to help you earn higher commissions. I'm going to help you lead generate organic from the sphere of influence that you already have. And we're going to show you how it doesn't take 40, 50, 60 hours a week to make it happen. And so ultimately, it gives the real estate professionals more income, more money, and more importantly, more time to go out and do the things that they really want to do: family, church, community, whatever that is.
Okay. So let's back up and talk about how you got into the real estate industry. How'd that happen?
Yeah. So the majority of my background has been in car dealership finance management. What I found out really fast is I couldn't finance what my guys couldn't sell. So I went to teach them the basics: blocking and tackling, meet and greet, handshake, eye contact, body language, body posture. Got out of banking, got out of that field in 2013, got into banking just to get my time back because I was a slave to the car dealership, bell to bell, 6 days a week. My wife called herself the car dealership widow. Birthdays without me, parties without me, weddings without me. I was at the dealership. So I got into banking, went to a 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, really, it was a credit union. And I still stayed after the bell closed, after everything, to kind of do some reports and stuff, and just went up through the ranks, got into management, got into branch management. And then my real estate lender, or my real estate guy, left to go open up his own brokerage, and he gave me the invitation. Through a little back and forth, I decided to go for it. And again, when I got into it, I saw really fast I couldn't finance what my real estate agents couldn't sell. That was in 2018. And I immediately started teaching real estate agents how to meet and greet, how to build rapport, how to establish relationships. So I showed them how to put fun back in the fundamentals, right? Doing the basics brilliantly, so that whenever they're able to go out there and build that career, that real estate career, they have a strong and solid foundation, because the winds that as we've seen, are going to blow. And if your foundation is not solid, that house of cards is going to come down really fast. I like what one guy said, that during the pandemic, even a turkey could fly in a hurricane. But right? So when the winds die down, that's really where the true professionals shine.
Yeah, and so pre-show we were talking a little bit in the green room about the real estate industry, and I've got some good friends that are excellent realtors. I've also got some friends that maybe really good at industry, like they understand the process, they understand the product, but they're not good business people. And one of the things that I've seen is that they don't do any marketing in the bad times, right? So how are you helping real estate professionals fix that problem? Because it's a feast and famine business generally, is what they would say, whether you're a real estate salesperson or a mortgage lender. So how are you advising them and teaching them to fix this problem? Because obviously we've been in a feast period where the realtors were doing very well, and now we're starting to see that change. And so you're going to see people that have not done this right, have not built a business, fall out. And so how are you helping your coaching clients avoid that problem?
Scott, again, I keep this really basic, right? When I talk about that, I train, yeah, I train these really smart people, right? I've coached with the physicist, I've coached with several PhDs, I've coached with, I can't tell you how many masters in business, masters in all kinds of these degrees, and I tell them, okay, well, let's simplify this, right? They go to real estate, they went to college, they went to school, they got a degree and ended up in real estate, and I tell them, you have no business. Where did I put it? I tell them, I said, you have no business getting on social media, uh, a billboard, a newspaper, nothing, until every single person in your contacts list knows who you are, what you do, and why you do it. They are trying to go after people they don't know,
Mhm.
that don't like them, that don't care about what they do, and they're completely bypassing a slew of warm market people in their database that they can simply call and have a conversation, be interested in what they do. How are you doing? How are things going? And you're interested in them. You have that dialogue, and eventually, through the law of reciprocity, it's going to come up. Hey, Johnny, I'm glad you called. I'm glad we're having this conversation. What about you? What are you doing? Hey, Scott, I'm glad you asked. Thank you. And you go into that conversation, but you don't come across as, hey, do you know anybody that wants to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate right off the bat? And they're like, who is this again? We haven't talked in like 4 years. But they overcomplicate it. And whether you're in real estate, whether you're in financial advising, insurance, I tell people, get out of that business and get back into the people business, because people buy from business. They do business with people they know, like, and trust. And for some reason, people want to use this great, I use social media, nothing against it, but you're completely bypassing the people that know you, like you, and trust you to go after people that don't know you, don't like you, and don't trust you.
Wow, that's strong. I hope you guys are taking notes on that because a lot of us are making that mistake, and we're totally ignoring the people that are in our circle already, and going and trying to bring more people into our circle before we've covered them. That's really good stuff. Um, so so it's just phone contact, just reaching out by just making phone calls.
Organic. Yeah. Everyone that comes into my coaching program, our goal is 10 quality conversations a day. 10 quality conversations. And you'll find out really fast that what constitutes a quality conversation only takes about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I often kid around with the idea, how long does a 5 minute phone call usually take? About 5 minutes. And if you do 10 of those, that's not even an hour, right? Somebody's not going to be able to talk. Hey, you caught me at a bad time. You set up a follow-up call, different things. But it's about an hour a day. What else are you doing, right? I love what Tom Ziglar calls it, an IPA, income producing activity. And if you're in sales, if you're in business for yourself, you're not lacking in closing ability. You're not lacking in more skill. You're not lacking in more ways, more tips, more tactics, more tricks, anything like that. What you're lacking is conversations. He who has the most conversations wins. Because even if your closing percentage is low, you start to learn to ask better questions. You start to learn to have a different dialogue, right? That's that Bob Tiede leading with questions. You start to have better questions. You start to get better answers. Better answers creates a better dialogue. Better dialogue creates a better relationship. And you're kind of reverse engineering this by being interested. How can I help you? Right? Mr. Ziegler built a whole career off of it. You, yes, you listening right now, watching on the replay, can have everything in life you want if you'll simply help enough other people get what it is they want.
And you can't do that without being interested in other people.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah, I took one of my boys and one of his best friends skiing a few years ago, and we were up on the slopes at the lodge eating some lunch, and a lady says, "Hey, can my son sit with you guys?" And it was kind of an odd request. He was about 10, and we said, "Sure, that's fine," because he wanted to get warm. And so he sat down, and when she as she walked away, she said, "Son, remember to be more interested than interesting."
He gets it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like many of us feel like we have to perform and talk and tell stories, and there's sure a time for that. But yeah, like Bob, Mr. Questions, you've got to learn how to become more interested in people, and not just to get sales, but just to build relationships and find out what they need so that you can help them. And it's hard because we all get desperate at times, and we're really trying, we're trying to make a living, and so you want to get to the sale. And you have to really watch that, because if you don't build the groundwork, you're going to blow the sale. You've got to
Oh,
do
absolutely.
it first, and there's really no shortcut for it. You've got to start with the basics.
Amen. I've been married to my beautiful wife now for 26 years, and I say that it would have been 29 had she said yes the first time. but but we have three beautiful kids, two cats. If anybody's looking for two cats, I got some to give away. But I tell them, had I went up to her the first time we saw each other and met and said, "Hey, I want to have three kids with you," it would not have quite worked out the same way, right? You have to take those baby steps. You start out with, "Hi, my name is," you are, and again, the basics. But I can't tell you how many people do not do those basics. And that's why I say we're going to put fun back in the fundamentals. Some of you that watched the game last night or some of the games previously, you understand that some of those really cool razzle dazzle plays cannot happen unless the guys up front are doing the basics of blocking and tackling.
Yeah, all the things that the Dallas Cowboys aren't doing this year.
I didn't want to go there, but
yeah. Hey there, it's Scott Reed, cutting in for a quick moment. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in our discussions, you're going to love the Access Plan. It's designed for entrepreneurs like you, offering unlimited legal advice without the worry of high hourly fees. With the Access Plan, you can get the legal support you need at a flat monthly rate so you can focus on growing your business with confidence. Head over to reblaw.com/access to learn more and join Access now and get busy shadowproofing your business. Now let's get back to our amazing guest. Yeah, and the dating is a good analogy. If I remember back, it's been I haven't been on a date since '91 with someone that I wasn't married to. But a good date is where you leave because feeling good about it because the other person was asking about you, and instead of it all being about them.
yeah. And once you understand the people business, I learned this years ago. One of my first jobs was door-to-door sales. I think I still have the callus from all the door knocking that we did. But people love to talk about themselves. I would knock on that door and I'd be like, "Hi, my name is," and I would even say my name. I'm like, "Wow, what kind of plant is this? That is beautiful. Did you plant this yourselves, or do you have a gardener that comes out here?" And before you know it, "Oh, those are whatever kind of plants." I'd never heard of them before, but I'm like, "Wow, that is beautiful." And we just start talking about the plants. 5, 10 minutes goes by. Before you know it, I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I got really carried away." But they already like me because I like their garden, because they put time. People love to talk about themselves. And if you can figure that out, what's important to them. Are you familiar with the Whiffum gland, Scott?
No.
So the Whiffum gland is right here in your the back of your brain near the cerebellum. It's right next to the amygdala. If you've ever heard of the amygdala?
Yeah.
It's actually in front of the medulla oblongata. Just kidding, I made that up. but the Whiffum gland is the Whiffum gland is the "what's in it for me," right? Whiffum. What is in it? It's the Whiffum gland, right? Mr. Ziglar said it perfectly. He took that quote from another guy. He said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them." And so when you're having this conversation in your mind, I tell my salespeople, all the people that I coach, pretend two things are going on. They have a big oval sign, like the four trucks, above their forehead that says, "Because of what you're telling me, so what? So what?" And here's where I start to age myself. Pretend above their chest they have a big clock hanging like Flavor Flav. a big clock that's in the form of a heart that says, "Make me feel special." If you can answer their question of "so what," because of what you're sharing with me, what's in it for me, and can you make me feel special, all of a sudden you've just increased your closing ability exponentially, because you've made them feel special and you've answered the question, "What's in it for me?"
Wow. Okay, so what's one more tip for our realtor friends that are listening, besides having 10 real conversations, that's 5-minute conversations a day. What's the second thing they should do?
So the next thing is I'm really big. If you follow Ziglar, you know they had the 7 key areas of people's lives: mental, spiritual, physical, family, financial, personal, and career.
Live life.
I, I yeah, the wheel of life. I added an eighth,
Um,
and that's community. And the reason is that, Howard Partridge, he has that book, The Power of Community. And when you really start to give back to your community, not for selfish reasons, but because you really do care about the local food pantry, you really do care about. Right here, we work and volunteer for a nonprofit that collects coats for kids for the winter. We do shoes for kids. We do khakis for kids. There's all kinds of things, and that's something that's really important to me because when we were growing up, we depended, our family, six, 4 sisters, 1 brother, 2 parents, living in a 3 bedroom, 1 bath house. We depended on those nonprofits for clothing, for back to school clothes, for shoes, for blankets, for food. And so this is my way of giving back. What I found out was that in the process of me giving back of my time, my talent, my resources, my treasure, I met some of the local community leaders and volunteers that also felt the same way. And we were in agreement, we had that like-minded, we wanted to give back. And you find out that you're picking up trash in the local park next to the mayor. And we're having a conversation. I'm like, oh, you're the mayor. Oh, cool. Hey, nice to meet you. Now me and the mayor have a great relationship. I can call him up, be like, hey, Don, I found out he's a big prankster. So am I. And you get to meet the city, the fire chief, the police, the city manager, all these people because you're a part of a Rotary, a local Toastmasters club, a local nonprofit. You're on their boards. You're at the nonprofit events raising money, all this stuff. And because they know that your heart is in the right place, they're going to find out what you do. Oh, you sell real estate. Hey, I have a friend that is looking to sell their house. Well, guess who they're going to give it to? Because they know that a percentage or a portion of your profit, of your income, is going to go back to a cause that they believe in. And so if you're not volunteering, now again, go back. Motive is very key. Don't do it for this reason. Do it because it's something that you believe in. But what you're going to find out is that you can get more business by default volunteering at your local Salvation Army, at your local nonprofit that's having a food drive, whatever that is, because there's other people like yourself, professionals that want to also give back. You develop those relationships. You have them over for dinner. You go out for coffee. You do one-on-ones with them, and before you know it, you're sending them business, and then the law of reciprocity kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah. And so everything that Johnny's talking about is so true. And, but it's a long game.
It is.
This isn't a get rich quick world. It's it's the long game. You have to do the right thing, stacked upon stacked upon stacked upon stacked. And so a key to success, I'm a 28-year overnight success, is the resilience, in my humble opinion. And in real estate, for sure it is. It's like if you can just hang in there long enough, learning to do the right things and hang in there long enough, you can be successful. So, I mean, your career spans more than 2 decades in sales. What has resilience taught you about thriving in business?
Man, it goes back to that Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. If no one's ever read that book, I can't remember which scroll it was, but it says that failure will never overtake you if your desire to succeed is strong enough. And if you are just willing to show up every single day, whether you feel like it or not, that's the key, right? There's more real estate agents getting out of this business than there are coming in because they are literally, like that book says, 3 feet from gold. And you nailed it. You hit the nail right on the head when you said this is not a get rich quick deal. It's not. It can be, but it's not. And what I for sure tell people is that this is not a get rich easy plan either. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to show up day in and day out, if you're willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do, you're going to be able to live a life that most people won't even have an opportunity because you just kept showing up. And if you need motivation, go watch Rocky 1. Go watch Rocky 4. Go watch any of the Rocky movies, right? He just kept getting up, kept showing up. And even the Bible says, right? If you fall down 7 times, get up 8, dust yourself off. And now you're not coming from no experience. You're coming from experience. You're coming from, well, that didn't work. And if it didn't kill you, guess what? It is going to make you stronger. And so that resilience, that resolve, it's like a muscle that you develop. And you know that if you've succeeded once and you failed and you've succeeded again, and it's just part of it. And I wish more people, Scott, I wish more people would realize that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is success's closest and nearest ally. The more failures you have, the closer to success you are. So just keep going out there and fail again.
Failing faster and faster.
Failing faster, failing forward. Just do it. It worked for Nike. Just do it.
So it wouldn't be the Shatterproof Entrepreneur if we don't talk about faith. So tell me how faith has influenced your journey.
Oh, man, I'm glad you asked. My life verse, Jeremiah 29:11, right? I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. What I love about that word hope is that there is more hope for you than you have problems. There is more hope for you than you have circumstances and challenges. And who was it? I think it was Maxwell that said that hope in the future gives you power in the present, right? Power to persist, power to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And usually when I ask people if what's the greatest book ever read or ever greatest story ever told, they refer the Bible or they refer, some scripture. And I tell them no. And I'm not being sacrilegious, don't misunderstand me. I tell them the greatest story ever told, you can't see it, but it's the story of the tortoise and the hare. Again, I keep everything really basic. Every time I read that book, the turtle wins. Not because of its speed, not because of its agility, not because of its aerodynamic shell, but because of its constant persistence to just keep putting one foot in front of the other in the right direction. That's why we tell people direction is so much more important than speed. But then you put the game changer in there, right? Our creator, he created us on purpose and for a purpose. And if I had to go to another verse, it would be, and I don't know exactly where it's found, but it says, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man, the things that God has prepared for you. And once we understand that our blessing, the thing that God has for us, is already prepared. Yep. All we have to do is trust in him to keep putting that one foot in front of the other. Really what he's doing is he is preparing us for the blessing. He's preparing us to be able to receive that blessing, because if we get it too soon, it's going to be like that prodigal son. We're going to waste it. And that was his problem, is he got his inheritance too soon and not when he should have. But if we will prepare our hearts, prepare our minds every single day. I wake up in the morning before I came on here, I was praying, Lord, help me to say something that's going to resonate with somebody, that's going to encourage them, to motivate them, to be able to just keep trying one more time. I understand you failed. I understand that you haven't succeeded, but that goes back to what we've heard before, right? Failure is an event, not a person. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to feel like you're a mistake, and God don't make no junk. Right? You're here on purpose for a purpose with a specific talent, skill, and ability. And once you tap into that, that's what I call them my cool kids. That's what I help the cool kids really kind of define for themselves, their why, their purpose. And once we have purpose, all of a sudden, it's like, let them go. Because now imagine the rabbit with purpose, steadily going in the right direction. And so we accelerate their learning. We accelerate their results, and we collapse their learning curve.
That sounds good. I like
It
accelerate.
works. It works. We accelerate the results, and we collapse their learning curve just simply because we're taking all the experience, not just for myself, but all my other coaching clients. And it's, again, I'm aging myself. It's like that Super Mario brother, right? We start when we're little at the very beginning, and we're gaining these tools. We're getting bigger. We're accumulating these points along the way. We grow, we get taller, we get this fireball, we get all these, so that when we get to the end, we're able to defeat the enemy, right? New devil for every level kind of thing. And so once you get your faith to that point, and that's why I tell people I have a social media live that we do every Friday. It's called Faith Your Fears Friday, where we're able to activate that childlike faith to be able to go up against anything that our enemy, our adversary would put in front of us, because you understand that one with God is the majority. And if he brought you to it, he will take you through it. But somewhere along the lines, our faith wavers. We lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish. And we start to think, well, maybe God can't do it. No, he can. You know, Jeremiah says, is anything too hard for the Lord? No, it's not. He can do anything. With God, all things are possible. And so you start to collect these scriptures, and you start to put these scriptures side by side by your daily affirmations. And before you know it, baby, you're going to have so much faith that you're going to be able to charge the gates of hell with a half-loaded water pistol. Oh! And so you go from fear to faith, and then comes the fun. Because I know there's streets of gold. I know there's pearly gates of entry into heaven. But I cannot wait, Scott. I cannot wait to see that playground in the sky, the playground that God has prepared for us, because that's going to be a true testament of what our consistent persistency is, why we do what we do.
Yeah. All right. So let's have a little fun, some rapid questions here.
Yeah,
What's one piece of advice Zig Ziglar gave you that you apply every day?
Oh, man. Perfect answer. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly until you learn to do it better.
I love it. I say that all the time. What's a book or resource that has greatly impacted your career?
Man, there's several, but anything Ziglar. But if I was to really kind of break this down, I think going back to the Ogmandino's book of the greatest salesman in the world. Okay. If you haven't read that, the end got me, because I thought it was about sales, and it wasn't. You'll have to read the book if you haven't got it to read that ending. It was like a total, like, where did that come from? But if you will apply those principles, and then of a lot of these things, that I got books everywhere, but that Ogmandino book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, besides anything Ziglar and besides anything Bible, that's probably been a very influential book.
What's your top advice for first-time home buyers?
Sit down and do a consultation with the mortgage broker or mortgage lender, because a lot of times as a first-time home buyer, you just don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And get that application filled out, because the reason I encourage them to do that is because there's going to be some blind spots. There's going to be some things on the credit report that they may not be familiar with. And then if they come, I'm one of those people that even though you don't qualify for a home right now, we can put you into a program we call the homeownership incubator, where we basically start giving them a plan to get this removed, get this paid off, get this taken off, get this resolved, get this done, increase their credit score. And so we never turn anybody down. We say, not now. We give them an actionable, implementable, specific plan to go ahead and start doing. And 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, homeowner. Cool. Every time. Does not fail.
How do you stay motivated and continue to grow in your field?
Man, just knowing, and oh man, this is gonna get me. Right, Christmas last year, I was doing a social media live on Faith Your Fears Friday, and I was having a blast. You can go back and see all my episodes that I put on there. They're on social media. You can find me really easy. But I got a messenger right in the middle of the call and said, I need to talk to you.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I dismissed it, but because I was still alive, it came on again. Call me. I was like, okay, okay. So I ended the call, got on the call with them. They're on up in years, and they called me and said, what you just said, I've been struggling. She's high, late 60s, early 70s, wanted to do some bodily harm to herself. And what I shared on that live social media feed was what she was asking, what was the question she was asking. Scott, I went back and I listened to that episode. And I cannot tell you, I cannot pick anything earth shattering or groundbreaking that I shared. It was just regular conversation, but she resonated with it. I opened it up, opened it. Well, before I extended a coaching opportunity to her, I first made sure she had a pastor in her life. Then I made sure that she had a counselor that she could visit with. And once we got clearance from both people, we were able to invite her into the coaching program. And you look at her now, man, and she is just thriving. She is just a whole different person. And so now I've taken that approach. You just never know who is watching, who needs to hear your message of hope, your message of encouragement, your message of just letting them know that there is more to this thing we call life. You are made for more. You were created for more. And that's why Mr. Ziglar says that we were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with those seeds of greatness. I want to help cultivate those seeds of greatness, help nurture them, help cultivate those. We're going to even put Miracle Grow on them things, baby. We're going to see them really become the person that God created them to become by simply doing the basics brilliant.
Man, Johnny, thank you for that. That's a great ending message. And for coming on the show. It's been fantastic today. Before we go, I want to offer you a blessing. Lord, let's play a blessing on my brother Johnny. I pray that you would give him favor as he goes in and he goes out, that his team would act with wisdom and discernment, Lord, and that you would put him in the right places with the right people at the right time. In your precious name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Scott.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, please like and subscribe. And until next week, stay shatterproof.
Absolutely.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. While I'm your host, Scott Reed, and a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, and this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed by my guests are their own and not mine, and they may not even reflect the opinion of the Shatterproof Entrepreneur Podcast. So we strive to provide valuable and accurate content, but we make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information to your particular situation, and won't be liable for any errors or omissions for the application of them. Always consult a professional or in the respective area that we've discussed before making any personal or business decisions.